Excuse me, I call the meeting to order. Wednesday, May the 11th, 2006. Time being 7 p.m. 2016, I said.
Good year.
Good year, specifically. The Whittier Regional Vocational Technical High School. You please all stand and we'll salute the flag.
Flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Following the agenda for tonight, the first order of business is public comment. Excuse me, anybody out there would like to discuss any public information not on the agenda? None being heard, we move on to the next segment.
Mr. Chairman,
Approval of minutes. Mr. Tucker,
I move the approval of the minutes of the annual organizational meeting,
Second.
April 11th.
Second.
any comments or questions? None being heard, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I move the approval of the minutes of the public hearing on April 13th.
Second.
Any comments or questions on that? None being heard, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
move the minutes of the regular school committee meeting on April 13th.
Second.
Second. Any questions or comments? None being heard, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, I move the minutes of April 13th executive session.
Second.
Second. Also, any questions or comments? None being heard, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous. Treasurer's report.
Mr. Chairman, I move the treasurer's report.
Second.
Second. Any questions or comments on the treasurer's report? Snuck through again, huh? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Whole business. I have tabulation here. It's in your supplemental packet of the school committee self-evaluation. Briefly go over some of the results. There were, of all the members, there were 10 responses. Even though it says 9, mine wasn't included, but it's also in here. There are basically 3 parts of the self-evaluation. The committee's activities, relationships with the superintendent, and how the committee conducts meetings. As you go through these, a quick tabulation under the committee's activities amongst themselves, which has to do with mission statements, up-to-date communications. There were about 50-50% heading in the 1 and 2 categories. Strongly agree and agree. Under the relationships with the superintendent, which include timely response, communication, community activities, it was basically 80% under strongly approve or agree, and about 20% on category number 2. And as the committee conducts meetings, it was basically 50% category 1, strongly agree, and category 2. That within that, it's good to note that under interaction with other members, 70% of those that responded had favored beyond expectations, so to speak. So it's in there for you to review, and at the next meeting, if there are any questions, we can discuss it further. Moving on now, we get to the reports and communications. Yes, excuse me. Oh. Yes.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Superintendent Lynch, and all other school committee members. All the sports teams have had to battle Mother Nature this spring, but they're winning the battle so far. The baseball team is having a solid season this year with 6 wins and 3 losses. They've been playing competitively in games and are optimistic that they will make the state tournament this year. The softball team has been having an amazing season and is qualified for the state tournament. They have won all 10 of the games they have played and have 10 more regular season games left. They will be playing in the Methuen tournament against Newburyport on May 17th. The boys lacrosse team has been doing well and is looking forward to several league games that are coming up. The team has been working extra hard because much of the team is still new to the sport. The boys and girls track and field teams have both won and lost 2 meets so far this season. There are many talented athletes on both teams, and 8 Whittier athletes have qualified for the state divisional meet. This has been a great year for Whittier and Skills USA competitions. In November, 12 students attended the Fall Leadership Conference. In March, 205 students were registered for the district competition, taking home a total of 56 medals, which is a record for Whittier. At the state competition last month, 60 students attended and took home a total of 6 gold, 5 silver, and 4 bronze medals. The 6 gold medal winners are eligible to advance to the national competition taking place next month. During the past month, the Key Club sponsored a blood drive here at the school where 30 pints of blood were collected while their goal was 25. They also spent some time cleaning up the area by the flagpole and will be planting flowers in time for Memorial Day. Recently, some members attended a lunch with the Haverhill Coweenies here at Poets Inn, where new officers were pinned and seniors were honored. During the next few weeks, the members will be giving tours on freshman orientation day and will be working in the library to help organize the shelves. In addition, the members continue to meet on a regular basis and are currently planning summer projects and fundraising. The yearbook club worked very diligently this year, and they finished the yearbook, had it printed, and was delivered to the school ahead of schedule. They look forward to distributing the yearbook to Whittier's class of 2016. The student government is busy preparing for the class officer elections, which will be held in June. They are in the process of taking nominations, and students are preparing for the elections. The chorus has been practicing after school, working on reading music and singing. Senior members are practicing their performances for the Senior Talent Showcase coming up on Friday, May 27th. The Multicultural Club continues to enjoy each other's company while learning about different cultures. Last week, they had 2 students talk about their Mexican heritage and how the culture influences them. They are now planning to make a display for the cafeteria on May 20th in recognition of the United Nations Do One Thing for Diversity Day. Also this month, freshman English teachers taught students how to write scripts and took 20 students on a field trip to HC Media in Haverhill, where they produced the first freshman show. The show will be airing on community television at a later date. And in addition, I'm assuming many of you know that this will be my last meeting as I'm retiring. And I would like to thank all of you for your support and hospitality here over the past year. And I would like to introduce the new student representative, which will be Patrick O'Regan.
Right in the middle.
Mr. Chairman and Superintendent Lynch, the rest of the school committee members, in Saffron, we are going to miss you. Saffron is going off to work next year, correct? So, and I'd just like to introduce Patrick O'Regan to you, next year's student rep. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Patrick O'Regan. I'm from the great city of Haverhill, and I'm a varsity baseball player, the starting left fielder. I'm currently the class president, and I'm in the electrical shop, and I'm on co-op working at East Coast Electric in Watertown as of now.
You're senior
Nice
this
to meet
summer?
you.
I'm a junior.
Junior now,
Yeah, junior
so
right.
you'll be senior next year.
Yes.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Really enjoyed your being here.
Oh, thank
for the
you.
school year, and the members of the board have all
Oh, thank
contributed
you.
heavily to this gift.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Saffron.
Okay, great report. The big shoes to step in there, pal. I'm telling you. Okay. Now we have, excuse me, the annual report from their audit report from the firm of Powers, and Sullivan. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
I have one quick comment before you start.
Sure.
I did read this, by the way.
Okay, good.
On this management letter,
Yes.
do you have a copy of that with you?
Yes, I do.
If you refer to the opening letter, I think there's a typo in there.
Whereabouts?
On the second line, it says, "Full information of the Hamilton Warren Regional School District."
What is it? Oh, okay.
Hold that.
Yes, I see that is a typo, so we will take care of that.
Well, at first, when I looked at it, I thought they sent us somebody else's report.
Huh.
Upon further review,
I hope it wasn't like that in the prior year too, but we'll get
No,
that
it wasn't.
straightened out. Thank you.
you think you could just redo this page?
Absolutely, yep.
Thank you. Go ahead. Sorry for that.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you. My name is Frank Soretti. I'm a partner with Powers and Sullivan. With me tonight is Kyle Warren. He's a senior supervisor with Powers and Sullivan. Kyle's primary responsibilities on the engagement are to plan and oversee and to coordinate the field work of the audit. He supervises the staff assigned to the engagement, and he drafts the audit reports that are issued, that are in front of you today, and Kyle does a great job, and I'd like to thank him for that. I'd also like to thank the superintendent, the business manager, the comptroller, the treasurer, and all the rest of the finance department staff for the cooperation and assistance that we received throughout the course of the audit. We had very good cooperation from everybody, and from our standpoint, we thought the audit went very well, so that was greatly appreciated. I'd like to start off just talking a little bit about the timing of the audit. We were out mid-June for what we consider to be our preliminary field work. At that time, we're mainly focused on auditing the budget, auditing debt. We're updating footnotes, we're testing transactions, and reviewing and updating, documenting internal controls. Our year-end field work was in late October. At that time, we're wrapping up any loose ends we might have had from our preliminary work, and we're completing our year-end audit procedures, and we're drafting the audit reports. What we found was that the district was well prepared for us when we got here. We request certain information in advance of coming out. We provide checklists, and we ask that that information be ready and available for when we get here to do the audit work. And what we found when we got here is that there was a good audit package waiting for us. The information that was provided to us was accurate. And from an engagement management standpoint, it really doesn't get much better than that. That's, all we can ask for, and that's really a big part of why the audit went as well as it did. One of the things we like to talk about a little bit is just some of the risk involved in the audit that we look out and look for. And the main risk area is always related to cash. That's the highest risk area in the audit. And so we put a lot of emphasis on cash, and we take a look at the controls that are in place and the processes and procedures that are in place. What we found, the most important control over cash is the reconciliation process. And when we looked at that process, what we found was that reconciliations are being performed on a monthly basis, and the reconciliations were complete and accurate. So we didn't find any issues with the cash reconciliations, and that was really great to see. As I said before, we tested transactions. We look at the revenue cycles. We look at the expenditure cycles. And we want to make sure that transactions are being properly authorized, that they're being recorded properly. And what we found when we went through that testing is that the district's policies and procedures were being followed, and we didn't find exceptions to that. So all of that, when you put it together, provides assurance to users of the financial reports that the information that they're receiving and looking at can be relied upon, not only at the end of the year when the audit's being done, but throughout the course of the year. So it was great to see those results when we were doing that testing. Some financial highlights. Your general fund, your total fund balance was $1.5 million. About $300,000 of that was assigned for encumbrance. leaving you with $1.2 million of unassigned fund balance. That's the beginning point for your E&D calculation. Your E&D was certified at $1.1 million. That was below the 5% DOR limit that it's required to be at, can't exceed. General fund operations resulted in a $20,000 increase. This was mainly related to $5,000 of unspent appropriations and about a $15,000 increase in encumbrances carried forward to the next year. This is an indication that you have a good, strong budget process and that your budget is being managed well when you come in that closely with your actual results compared to what you had budgeted. Your school choice fund balance totaled $398,000 at the end of the year. That money can be spent by the school committee without further appropriation. That money can be used to enhance the quality of educational programs within the district. You also established a regional transportation fund in 2015. You had $296,000 of fund balance at the end of the year in that fund. That money can only be used for transportation purposes. It can be used for the current year budget, or it can be used for the subsequent year's budget. But at the end of the subsequent year, any money remaining in that fund must revert to E&D. Your other post-employment benefits liability increased by $2.1 million and totaled $21.4 million at the end of the year. Your contributions for OPEB, as it's called, were 28% of your annual cost. And your total actuarially determined unfunded liability was $29.3 million. You also implemented a new accounting standard, GASB 68, in 2015. That required the recognition of a $4.6 million net pension liability. That net pension liability is the district's share of the overall net pension liability of the Haverhill Contributory Retirement System, which the district is a part of. That liability has always been there. It's just been noted in footnotes. And with this new accounting standard, it's now recorded as a liability on your full accrual financial statements within the financial statement report. Also, along with that, it expanded footnote disclosures for pension and also required supplementary information and the disclosures that go along with that. So to summarize the financial audit, the opinion on your financial statements is an unmodified opinion. That's a clean opinion. That's the best opinion that you can get. Financial performance indicated that you have a sound budget process that's well thought out and well managed. Reporting deadlines were met. The information that we received was accurate. And there were no internal control deficiencies or material weaknesses noted in your internal controls. And overall, our interactions with all of the personnel that we dealt with were very professional and courteous, and that's very much appreciated by all of our team. So that's basically the highlights for the financial statements, and if nobody has any questions on that, I can go over the report on federal awards really quickly. Sure.
Yes, sir. Just a brief comment. I noticed on the other post-employment benefit, the OPED, that we're contributing around 25 to 30% per year of the total amount recommended. So it's growing every year. Is that a normal practice? I know most other districts also have large encumbrances.
Yeah, that's,
When should we start to get concerned?
I mean, there are, I would say, school districts that are starting to look at it. There's one in particular that comes to mind that's funding probably about 80 or 90% of it now that I'm aware of. Others are starting to look at it. I think that you don't want to get behind the curve as others start to establish an OPEB trust fund and start trying to fund it. You want to kind of try to keep up with what the other school districts are doing and not get behind. But also from a financial standpoint, the longer you let it go, the greater the liability is going to become and the harder it's going to become to fund and manage in the future. So we actually have a management letter comment on that, recommending that you consider establishing an other post-employment benefit trust fund and consider funding it. Some of the benefits to establishing it and funding it are that if you start contributing money into the fund, you now earning interest on the investment income on the money that you put in there, which helps to fund the unfunded liability. Also, you have the ability to invest in securities that earn a higher yield than what the treasurer can currently invest in, because you would have the money in a qualified trust, and it just opens up other investment possibilities which allow you to earn a higher rate on money that you do set aside.
So we should take a serious look at it this year, so to speak.
Yeah, I think it would be a good idea, and I am seeing other communities doing that too, or other school districts and cities and towns too. There are a lot of cities and towns out there that haven't really addressed it either, because there's no requirement to fund it like there is with pension. But I think that, if you work with your actuary, they can run different scenarios for you and let you know that, if you wanted to say, if we funded X amount, what would this do to our liability? And the more you fund, if you fund up to that annual required contribution, you get to use a higher discount rate, which significantly lowers what your annual required contribution is and what your total unfunded liability is. So from a funding standpoint, I think the sooner that you can address it and start the process, the better off you'll be.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions on the financial statements? Okay, I'll move on to the report on federal awards. This is a real quick one. This is an audit of federal awards that's required by the Office of Management, the Federal Office of Management and Budget, for entities that expended more than $500,000 in a fiscal year. The district expended $1.3 million, $300,000 of that related to school lunch and the school breakfast program. The other $1 million related to educational grants. The school lunch and breakfast programs were audited as major programs. That means that we went through a series of compliance requirements that were required to test various attributes of the program, and we're happy to report that there were no findings and no question costs related to any of that testing. And we also did not note any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies in internal controls over the federal awards. And so again, we were able to issue an unmodified report, which is a clean report, and that's the best you can get on that audit. And the last report is the management letter. And before I talk about that, I just wanted to talk really quickly about a matter that was verbally communicated to the management team during the audit, but not included in the management letter. And it related to the approval of, related to the warrant process and the approval of accounts payable and payroll warrants. And the establishment of a subcommittee by the school committee for that purpose. And what we noted is that a report should be filed with the school committee every month, just notifying the school committee of what the subcommittee has approved. And so we recommended that a listing be included on the treasurer's quarterly report to the school committee, just identifying what those were to meet that requirement. So we discussed that with management. They agreed, and it's our understanding that that's going to occur sometime in the very near future, that you're going to start to see those items being listed on the treasurer's monthly report. As far as the management letter goes, I always like to start off by saying that this document is critical in nature and it doesn't highlight the things that are done well here. What's really important to know about it is that there's no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies noted in the management letter. And there's also very good progress on the prior year comments. There were 6 prior year comments. 3 of those were fully resolved. And then there were 3 others that are still in process, but significant progress has been made, and they should probably all be resolved this year. One of them related to improving control of a gift card stock. We just recommended that the gift cards be pre-numbered and reconciled to the receipts that are received. And so the pre-numbered gift card stock has been obtained, and now it's just a matter of putting in the reconciliation procedure. So I think that'll probably get done this fiscal year. Develop procedures concerning computer passwords. Formal procedures have been developed, and now it's just a matter of having those distributed, and that I'm thinking is probably going to be resolved this year too. And the third carryover comment related to management of student activity funds and having those audited. And currently, we did a review of the financial policies and procedures just to make sure that you're in compliance with the DESE and Mass General Law regulations. And we're scheduled to do an audit of those, a formal audit, in calendar 17. So you'll be in compliance there. And then we had 3 new comments. The first one related to OPEB, which we've already talked about, just to consider funding that. And then the second comment related to establishing there's a new, somewhat new, in the last few years, there was a law that came out that allows you to establish a fund to set aside money for compensated absences, which is the sick and vacation buyout when someone retires. And it allows you to fund that those obligations as the obligations are being accrued, as opposed to just funding them when they become due. So it gives you a vehicle to set money aside so that as people are earning these benefits and accruing this time that's going to be subject to buyback, to be able to fund it in advance and not have to come up with an appropriation on short notice. So that was just something else that we thought you should consider. If you feel that that's a prudent thing to do. And the last comment that we had in the management letter related to a couple of new accounting standards that are going to be coming due. They're going to be getting implemented in fiscal 2017 and 18, and those relate to OPEB, other post-employment benefits that we've been talking about. And they're very similar to the pension standards that were just issued for pension. And what it's going to do is require the full unfunded liability to be put on the district's books, as opposed to the net OPEB obligation, which is just the difference between what you pay in benefits and what your annual required contribution is. Right now, there's about a $7.9 million difference between your net OPEB obligation and your total unfunded liability. So it's going to go from 21.4 to 29.3, that liability. And then you're going to have additional financial statement disclosures, required supplemental information, and disclosures related to that. But it's all in an effort to improve the transparency and to provide more information related to these benefits, because they're such large liabilities that the powers to be feel that it warrants special attention and bringing it more to the forefront with these new disclosures.
That's going to become a liability on the operating sheet too?
It's a liability only on the full accrual financial statements.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So it won't be on your basis of accounting. It's on in the financial statements. So that was it for the management letter, unless anybody has any questions about that.
I'm just curious, is this the 3rd year that you've been doing this?
That sounds about right.
Because I know that we do cycle through different auditors every, I don't know if it's 3 years or every 5 years. I just wondered how many more years we would go.
I'd have to take a look. One more year? Okay.
Good.
I wanted to
Yes.
I want to thank the Powers and Sullivan. It was obviously a very comprehensive report with wonderful recommendations and accolades to the district. But I also want to make sure that we recognize the hard work of our financial management people and the administration and team that backs them up. Thank you all very much for a wonderfully glowing report for the good job that everybody does here at Whittier. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great. Okay. Excuse me. Next on the agenda is the superintendent's report. I'd just like to make a quick statement that's come to our attention since the last meeting. that in accordance with our school committee policies regarding personnel, from now on, in future meetings, including tonight, we will not be including the person's name in personnel that's on the agenda. We will have a general update on each agenda from forward on personnel changes. So we won't be, you won't be getting in your packet names of people that have been, changes in their employment. According to,
And is there a reason?
Yeah, is there a reason for that?
well, there's two reasons. One reason is it's not in compliance with the policy, school committee policy. And the second,
What does the policy exactly say?
we don't talk about personnel on the agenda. You know, you have the,
The agenda has it very generic, so I will still continue to give updates on personnel. I just won't necessarily list them on the agenda. And it's for confidentiality reasons and those kinds of things.
and more specific, the superintendent checked this out with our legal firm, and they highly recommend not putting people's names on the agenda, but in general, to talk about personnel.
Talking about personnel issues or just that
No, just the
such and such is leading the UN to go to New York City?
No. Personnel like Joe Smith was hired at math teacher. Miss Jones was terminated, or whatever. It could run into some.
We know confidentially at some point? Or not?
Right, that's could be considered confidential.
They're not telling us anymore.
We will have on the agenda that,
Yeah, we'd like,
that she could say, we hired 22 instructional aides, but the names won't be there.
I would like to see that policy brought up at the policy subcommittee again
Okay.
and review it. As far as confidentiality, we are a public entity. Anybody's salary, anybody's position is open to public information. I can go online, I can go into any school district in town, elsewhere, and find out what anybody's salary is. So I don't understand how that is an issue of confidentiality.
The issue is putting it on the agenda. I will certainly share the information, and certainly anyone is welcome to the information. The issue is putting it on a public agenda.
I'm on the policy subcommittee, and I would
Definitely.
like to see that
Okay.
and any information also from the attorney as to the justification of that. I would also like to have sent, please, to the policy subcommittee.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to look to the chair. Does he feel comfortable with what I have just requested?
I think we should take a look.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, most of our hires and personnel actions that are on our agenda are for cafeteria workers, school bus drivers, et cetera. And I'm happy to just go with the position. This position is been retired, or this position has been, a person been hired for this position.
For instance,
So I'm not hard on
for
getting
instance,
their names in the
Right.
agenda.
according to,
If someone is
Excuse me.
is fired for just cause, we would know about that through other channels.
well, for instance, the information is there, it's just that you won't have the individual's name. For instance, we could say a math teacher has been hired at $63,000. It just wouldn't state the person's name. Or such and such person in whatever, housekeeping or whatever, has been terminated.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
what if a new athletic director is hired, he's also the football coach, or she is also the head of the UN, and they're five different positions? How are we gonna know if there's any nepotism or any, I'm a little cloudy on this. I think we need some clarification.
I can certainly provide clarification on this. It's identifying information. I'm trying to protect the district from legal
But I
issues.
understand if it's a detriment to the
Right.
person involved, and I understand it when we go into and that's why we go into executive session quite often.
Right.
But if it's a neutral statement, we've just hired a new social studies teacher, I don't see.
I have no problem with that. It's identifying information that there's concern about.
It's only on the agenda. The information is there.
Well, is she gonna state it verbally?
Yes.
So at a meeting, you'll state that Mr. Joe Blow was,
No, I wouldn't state it verbally. But again, the information's available. I'll have the information if you have any questions or requests. The concern from our attorney was identifying information.
But if that, with all due respect, if that's given to us, then the open meeting law and other legal actions could be taken by anybody in the public to say, well, who, it's freedom of information.
Well, then they would have to retrieve it. The question is that it's not be on the agenda.
That I understand, but then
We
the
will
follow-up,
get you,
I don't.
we'll get you the legal review and the policy.
Okay.
That's all I can say at this particular time.
I mean, in regard to this, many of us have been on school committee for many, many years. And obviously, when it changed from being the superintendent, the school committee's prerogative, and did the hiring and terminations, et cetera, we all moved to dealing with the fact that this was now going to be the superintendent's prerogative, and we were not going to be involved in the voting, but we would be notified as to who was being hired. And so I can't tell you how many years we have changed that and been notified. So now we're moving to the next step of doing away with school committee involvement and understanding of what's going on in the hiring process. And that I'm uncomfortable with.
Well, I don't, well, I'm not gonna get into it
I
now.
understand what you're saying,
Yeah,
but I
don't see
want
the
you to know
difference.
that I want to be as transparent as possible to you and to the community, and I will do that, again, making sure to keep the confidentiality, and making sure that, it doesn't put us in a
But
litigious
confidences have to
situation.
be held in two parties. Have they, a football coach agreed that he doesn't want his name out there, or she doesn't want her name out there? In other words, you use the word confidentiality, and confidentiality has a definition to it, and it's a two-way street.
Well, and
I mean, I
mostly,
just think it, unfortunately, and I'm sure it's not that way, but unfortunately, it does smack of not being open.
unfortunately, you're right, but in regards to what you stated, it tends more to the reverse. Not who's been hired, but the reverse of that. And there could be issues brought up.
Life's tough.
Well,
Some people lose.
well, we can discuss it.
Yeah, again, I would like to know if our attorney said, is this an individual thing? Other school districts, Shawshene, Greater Lowell, Greater Lawrence, Neshoba, have any of these doing this? And so what's the rationale?
I've looked at a lot of school agendas, and I haven't seen any agendas like ours listing personnel on the agenda. So,
Gather the information, I guess.
Yeah.
For the June meeting.
We will.
Charlie.
Yes, sir.
I noticed in the packet today, we have certain names of different hires and stuff, so I'm assuming this will still be the case, it just won't be on the agenda, the names, is that correct?
yeah.
I personally see a problem if we can. I think we're being informed, it's all the information's right here.
So we're still gonna get
We're
that?
just not
You're still going
putting
to
it
get
on
your
the
packet. I'm just not
website.
putting it on the agenda.
Oh,
It's not on
I think there's,
Just says-
It is right here. Personnel action, hires,
Yeah, but it says hires, it doesn't say who they're hiring.
right,
Yeah.
but the actual
but that
names,
information's in here. That's
the actual
kind of-
names.
it's all in there.
Right.
Now
But it's not on the agenda. This is with the
How about
packet.
this? Let me sort through this.
Right.
I will get back to you in June with something from the attorney, and I'll meet with the policy. We're meeting anyhow at the June meeting. I'll sort through it, I'll present it to you, and we'll handle it that way until next month, okay?
I've never known you to put a name on the agenda.
There's things on there that shouldn't be on it.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
okay,
got it.
okay. And we will, we're not trying to hide anything.
I don't believe we are.
Okay. Let's go. Yes, you're up.
Okay. Budget update. We've been going through many town meetings. I'll report later on all the town meetings that we've been attending. Tomorrow night, we have Amesbury City Council that we'll be attending. MCAS update, we received the March MCAS retest results for math. We had 9 juniors take the retest and 2 passed. We filed cohort appeals for 7 students in math and 7 students in biology. We should receive the results by the beginning of June. Grade 10 students have been attending an after-school program since April, and they'll be taking the math MCAS on May 17th and 18th. So the teachers have been working extremely hard, and the kids have really rolled up their sleeves and have really been trying extremely hard to do well. So I have every confidence in the world that we'll make our mark this year. On Thursday, April 14th, I attended the MAVA Outstanding Vocational Student Award Ceremony. We honored Chantel Rondo, a marketing student. This is a fantastic night when the best vocational students in each of the CTE programs in the state are honored. There were probably 300 people there at Mechanics Hall in Worcester, and it truly is a lovely night where the kids stand up on stage and their pictures behind them, and they're honored. So it was a great night on April 14th. On Monday, April 25th, Mr. Laganis and Ms. DeSalvo accepted a Community Partnership Award from Haverhill Cable TV. I have the award that was given here along with the official citation from State Senator Kathleen O'Connor Ives. And I'll have that for you at the end of the meeting. On Monday, April 25th, I attended the Merrimack Town Meeting. The meeting by law, the meeting had to end at 10 o'clock, and it was continued again till May 9th. I want to thank Kara Cosmas for attending the Groveland Town Meeting and Amy Poxick for attending the West Newbury meetings while I was in Merrimack. I can't be in 3 places at once, so I had some help that night, so thank you. I want to thank, on Tuesday, April 26th, I attended the Newbury Town Meeting with Kara Cosmas. On Thursday, April 28th, I attended a Haverhill Rotary meeting. On Thursday, April 28th, I hosted a meeting of school committee members and chairpersons of the General Advisory Board. I want to thank committee members, Mr. Irving, Mr. Murphy, Ms. True, Ms. Gilbert, and Mr. Bardsley for attending. I know you had to leave, come in late and leave early, but thank you for coming. It was a wonderful evening, and I want to thank Ron Marslow, the Undersecretary of Labor Force and Work Development, at least for that day, and Whittier alumni Dan Muse for an outstanding talk that night. I think we'll all agree that that was a really great night. On Friday, April 29th, I attended the MAVA Board of Directors meeting, was able to witness some of the Skills USA competitions. And I would encourage anyone, if you've never seen that, to participate. On Saturday, April 30th, I attended the Skills USA Awards and closing ceremony. I'm happy to report that we have 6 gold medal winners, that they will be going to compete in the National Skills USA competition in Louisville, Kentucky on June 20th through 24th. Your good friend, Levi Stresbeck, a machine technology student, won for the CNC milling specialist. Rachel Maylou, Emmy, Kyle Gates, and Aaron Archibald for health occupation students won the Health Knowledge Bowl. And Nicholas Corcoran, a masonry student, won for masonry. I want to publicly thank our advisors, Jane Moskovich and Steve Palmer, for their outstanding work in pulling this together. And the other teachers who attended the weekend competition. These people gave up their weekends for our kids, and I can't thank them enough. Paul Moskovich, Bruce Boisel, John Levine, and Jim Martin. On Monday, May 2nd, I attended the Georgetown Town Meeting. On Monday, May 2nd, I then ran to the Raleigh Town Meeting with Kara Cosmas. On Tuesday, May 3rd, 2016, I attended the Kiwanis meeting at Whittier Tech. At this meeting, our graduate and Stanford PhD student, Dan Muse, our graduate alumnus, Dan Muse, spoke, as well as the induction of new officers for the Key Club, and it was a great afternoon. On Wednesday, May 4th, I attended the Superintendent Mentor meeting in Marlborough. This was my last meeting of the year. On Monday, May 9th, I attended the Merrimack Town meeting again with Kara Cosmas. They did vote to approve the budget on April 25th, but we needed to go back for the stabilization fund account, and they did approve that. On Tuesday, May 10th, I attended the Seacoast Business Expo Forum, where Lieutenant Governor Karen Polito was the guest speaker, and Beverly DeSalvo attended that meeting with me as well. And then last night, on Tuesday, May 10th, I attended the Ipswich Town meeting again with Kara Cosmas. Also, many of you have noticed that we've done some work in the old professional development office. We're beginning to prepare for NES&C, who next year will be our year of study, and the current concerns they may have regarding the guidance office. With the help of maintenance, the electrical department, CAD, and carpentry, we've been able to design a guidance space for counselors, the adjustment counselor, and the school psychologist. We had people all over the building, and this will be one central location for all of our students. And I think that's tremendously important, and we're able to do it because of all the kids, the staff, and making that project happen. As many of you know, part of my entry plan was to meet with the stakeholders and look at the strengths and needs of the district in my first year. After reviewing the data, I've developed 3 goals that I plan to move forward over the next school year. The first one is the need to look at capital improvements in the building. We again submitted a statement of interest this spring, and I have enclosed a copy of that statement of interest for your review. The second is the need to organize efforts around public relations. We do a fantastic job communicating here in the building. We need to do a better job communicating to our 11 cities and towns so they know what we're doing and know the fantastic things that our students and our faculty have accomplished. And that we need to do a better job with that. So whether it's social media or actually getting out to the communities, those are things that I really feel the need to move forward with. And then obviously curriculum. We need to update our curriculum to meet the curriculum demands of the MCAS 2.0 assessment. We also need to update our vocational equipment with the new state frameworks. Curriculum is the basis of our student learning, and I want to continue to make sure that our teachers and our students have access to the best curriculum possible moving forward. So those are 3 goals. I know you have updates on my goals from last year or this school year, but those are 3 issues that I'd like to work on for next year, for the next school year. And that's all I have for you today.
When is the 10-year?
The what?
10-year
Next year is our review, and then the following year, the
So
following
you
October.
want to be working on curriculum prior to that?
Yeah.
Are we
Yes, sir.
moving forward with the engineering shop for next year?
Yes.
Any questions? Yes, Ms. Strobel.
Just wanted to know, would you want the school committee to assist you with that second goal of with the communities and that kind of thing, and maybe you could elaborate on that at some point so we could know how we can
Absolutely.
be helpful.
Absolutely.
I think that would be great. I'm glad that's one of your goals.
Could the school committee, I don't, if the school committee wishes, could they send a letter to the teachers and staff that went and supported the students for the Skills USA event over the weekend? Just an appreciation letter
Yeah.
to let them know that.
That'd be a good idea. That'd be one fine day, yeah.
When did they move to Louisville?
2 years ago.
2 years ago?
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions? Thank you very much. We'll now move on to the next agenda item. The principal's report. Mr. Leganis.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Superintendent Lynch, rest of the school committee members. In your packet, I have the, if you can believe it, the proposed calendar for next year. If you could take a look at it, the 216, 217 calendar. And if there are any questions, take a look at it, and hopefully I can answer a few questions there. Yes.
I just have a question. I noticed there's no staff development in March. There's no professional development listed, I believe, in March. Is that correct? And I'm just wondering, is that because of MCAS? And it just seems like, I just noticed that.
Yeah, a lot, what if, this is my first year doing the calendar, so what I found is it is like a math problem, believe it or not, and Superintendent Lynch can probably speak to that as well. So there's only so much time that we can fit in. What I tried to do, if you notice, with the professional development as well, I will get with Kelly Fay, and a lot of it's to be announced, the professional development. But what I did this year, and you really can't see it here, but the weeks have changed in some of our half days as well. Mm-hmm. So when we do have the professional development in the building, a lot of our teachers have complained that, the schedule from 1 to 4, our kids were just going and then that was it. So the kids from 5 to 8 were, the teachers, they weren't getting the instruction. So what I did is I switched the weeks and tried to fit it all in. So I guess my point is, it is like a math problem with all the professional development and then the MCAS and the retakes, and it does all fit in, believe it or not.
Okay.
Mr.
That
Chairman,
makes sense.
Yes.
move to approve or receive, whichever we do.
Second.
Approve. Second.
Move to approve the calendar.
I move to approve.
Any additional comments or questions? None being heard, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous.
Okay, thank you very much.
I just wanted to.
Yep,
How many
yep.
days is that call for? 182?
It's like 181, I believe. And then, what it is, so the vacations, the holidays are on Sundays. So, for example, next year, one of the holidays, the New Year's is on, I believe, a Sunday, so we have that Monday off, and then we come back Tuesday. And then Christmas, I believe, is on that Saturday. So a lot of those, the bigger holidays. So yeah, it comes out It seems like a shorter school year, but it's not. And those 5 days are built in with the snow days as well. So, and again, it is a math problem. It's my first time doing this. I'm hoping there's no mistakes on there, but I'm sure I'll find out pretty quick if there are.
I was just hoping, I was wondering if we're gonna grow from 180 maybe to 182 and get some more.
No, it's pretty consistent. You know, what I did is when I developed it, obviously I went to last year's calendar and, you know, tried to mimic exactly the days. And obviously you can't do that because the calendar changes. And I tried to do things with the professional development, switching the weeks and maneuvering a little bit. There's really no wiggle room, to be honest with you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Just a few other things on my report. If you remember the Furniture Trust that was out there, if you can believe we took second. I don't want to talk to Mr. Whittier because Mr. Whittier's over at Great Air Lowell right now with his girls, the softball team, hopefully going to 12-0, but he wasn't too happy. But they did well. They did really well, and you saw what talent they went off. It was just wonderful. And Mr. Whittier was telling me a quick story about how they raffled off to the kids that actually built each one of the little items there, and they just loved it. So it was an amazing job by our children and also Mr. Whittier, our teacher. They were only sophomores, so I had to throw that out there.
That was incredible.
Yeah, thank you. And, you know, and again, it's, you know, just amazing some of the things that, you know, we have to get out there that our kids are doing. And especially to also our sports teams, they're all young teams. So the future is very bright. Just a couple dates that maybe you might want to write down. Freshman orientation, believe it or not, is this Saturday, May 14th. And we have our honors night, which is May 25th on a Wednesday. And then, of course, our senior activities, and I'm sure Saffron is ready to rock and roll in the senior activities here. The mock crash on Thursday. We have May 26th. We have our lovely, the next day on Friday, the lovely talent show, and that's May 27th. And then our senior sign-out / prom is May 31st. And of course, graduation is June 2nd. So I don't know the exact count. I believe it's 25 days left in school days, 25, 26. So it's flying, believe it or not. Yes?
Chris, what time does the honors night program start?
I believe it's around, I want to say 6 o'clock. Does that sound right?
I think
Ms.
people
Lynch?
come in at 6 and the actual awards is at 7, but
Yes.
I will get that out to everybody. I'll send
Yeah.
everyone an email.
Thank you. All right, thanks.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the business manager, Ms. Cosmo.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Superintendent Lynch, members of the committee. In your packet, you'll see that it's been a little bit busy in the business office. We have 3 bid results that I'd like to share with you. There'll be more coming up, but we're doing them in little batches. The first one is the buses. Several months ago, you authorized an appropriation from the revolving transportation account in the amount of $295,586.82. And earlier this evening, Mr. Soretti referenced that carryover amount. And I'm happy to report that we will be using all of that, so that will not revert to E&D next year. We advertised for the purchase of 1 to 4 buses. We didn't know how many we were going to be able to afford because it was dependent upon what the prices came in at. We received bids from 4 vendors: Anderson Bluebird Bus of New England, O'Connor, DATCO, and New England Transit. We opened the bids on April 29th, and present was Tammy Dentremont, Don Martin, Harry Takesian, and myself. Anderson was the low bidder. The gross price of the bus was $76,948. We had some old buses to trade in. They gave us $1,300 each for those, for a net price of $75,648. We will be using the entire amount that you appropriated and approved, and also we will be using $7,005.18 in anticipated savings that I expect to have at the end of the year in several transportation accounts, and that will allow us to buy 4 buses. So thank you for that appropriation. We're able to buy 4 buses, and we're really getting them up to date now, so that's a really good thing for us. The second bid was hazardous waste removal services, again on April 29th, at a bid opening attended by Tammy Dentremont, Harry Takesian, and me. We opened bid submissions we received from two vendors, Allstate PowerVac and Trade B Environmental Services. Allstate Power was the lowest price. They submitted $405 per haul plus 47 cents per gallon. And they had a total estimated cost of $35,650. The funding for this will come from the hazardous waste removal line in next year's budget.
Question.
Sure.
Just what are they hauling away? There's a lot of it.
We have a lot of hazardous waste, oil and lubricants and things like that, and they take it all out of the shops.
A lot of it comes from cosmetology.
Yeah, that too, that's right.
All the hair dye.
They pump
Well,
out, they pump
I'm
things
just
out.
questioning, but I see a price of 35,000.
Mhm.
And you divide that by the amount per gallon. A lot of gallons.
We can certainly get you some more information. Mr. Takesian will have all of that data if that's something.
Yes.
That'd be appreciated. I'm just
Okay.
curious what this, there's gas stations out there that don't put that kind of fluid in the ground to run a gas station. I'm curious if that's all generated from.
I assume the difference in the price, because when we look at the final quote, it's $35,460 versus $35,650, but is it because of the price of the gallon that
It was
makes-
about $1.90 difference,
Yeah.
$190 difference, I'm sorry, yeah. It
Yeah.
was a very small difference. And when we do the bid specs, we spec out the expected number of hauls and the expected number of gallons.
One thing you have to get from Harry for Doug is how many trips, because it's
Yes.
405. Yes, add that into the.
And again, that just brings my question to the volume of these
Right.
chemicals. What are we generating in that kind of,
This
you
one's
know,
still
we're up
slow.
to 70,000 gallons.
No, 405.
What are we generating?
I know a lot of it is cosmetology.
I'll bet you the
Yeah,
majority
you
is
are right.
cosmetology. All the
It's a lot-
dyes.
It's a lot of fingernail polish.
No, hair.
Hair,
The hair.
hair.
Dye in the hair.
So when they're washing hair.
Oh,
and
yeah.
stuff
All
like
that goes is
Yeah.
considered hazardous
Yeah.
waste.
Well, see, that's something I didn't know. I'm not-
This
No,
came
no,
up,
no,
this
I'm
came
glad-
up a
I'm not
few
for a
years ago.
minute saying,
State-
you know.
So as a matter of fact, a few years ago, I used to just go into the treatment plant,
Yeah.
and EPA said, no. So we had to, actually out behind cosmetology, there's tanks underground, that retaining tanks. We had to redo all the plumbing, so all that goes in there.
That's all I needed to know. You don't need to get the
All
reports.
set?
I just-
Okay,
that was just-
that is what it is.
I'm a numbers guy, that's all. I look at
Okay,
the numbers.
and I'm a numbers girl. And
So if you'll
finally,
get your hair
school
dyed,
supplies.
You're adding to it.
Right?
Finally, the
They
bid
got
on school
Ray.
supplies.
I don't either.
I don't wanna hide this chrome.
No. And finally, on April 29th, at a bid opening attended by Tammy Dentermont, Harry Takesian, and me, we opened bid submissions received from two vendors, WB Mason and School Specialty. WB Mason was the only vendor that submit the prices per the bid specification. We asked for school and office supplies, as well as ink and toner, and School Specialty did not bid on the ink and toner. WB Mason therefore won the bid. They were the lowest on the school supplies anyway by a significant amount. Their bid was $42,743.50 for the office and school classroom supplies, and their ink toner bid was $18,553.76. And the funding for these accounts comes from the postage and office supply account and the computer supply accounts respectively. Any questions on anything?
Yes, sir.
Yes. How old is that bus?
What bus?
The one you're trading in, roughly?
I don't know. I do know you were going to ask a question about buses, though. So after we get the four new buses, we will have 3 2006 buses that hopefully we will be able to trade next year if we have the same kind of revenues.
So are these 10 years?
I
12 years
think that
old?
they are. And then we'll have a 2009 bus.
Now, how many are we leasing right now, approximately?
We are leasing 10 buses. That lease will come up next year, and we're starting to talk about that now. Okay?
So we're going to buy 4 to put in our fleet.
Correct.
So we don't lease. But have you gone over the numbers to say this bus is 10 years old and you're only getting $1,300 for a trade-in on it?
The issue that I've been told by the man who takes care of the repairs is if something were to happen on that bus, which is a spare right now, it would cost us $2,000 to fix
Oh, no,
it. So
I'm not saying that, but
they're
I'm just
really
saying
worth very little.
They're not worth anything, all right? You're getting a gift for $1,300. It just shows you how much, it just shows you in 10 years what that thing
Yeah.
depreciated from $75,000 to $1,300.
Yeah.
So that is in our advantage to buy them?
It's in our advantage to buy. The goal is to hopefully, and again, we'll come back to you with
Try
this,
to balance it.
to try to have a 5-year cycle for everything. That's kind of the goal, and we're moving towards that. Okay?
The superintendent.
Just to clarify, Kara and I have spent a lot of time talking about buses, so trying to figure out the buses. So our plan is to have a plan where we're looking at all the buses. I think right now we're looking at having half leased and half
Correct.
we own, and then looking at what buses will be turning over. So I'd be able to give you hard numbers,
no,
what
for
year,
sure.
and those kinds of things.
But money for money, you can see it right there.
Yeah.
You've got a bus, you're only getting 10 or 12 years out of it, and you're going from $76,000 down to roughly $1,000. That number doesn't work. However, I can see what you're trying to do. You're trying to balance it, lease versus owning something in case there's a
Well,
problem.
I think that,
Buy them all hoverboards.
well, I think some of the reasoning on the purchasing the buses for here is that those buses will be used for extensive travel, because we do have a mileage
On the leases.
restraint on the leases. It gets quite costly if you go over that mileage. Like, for a lot of the after-school activities, you don't want to use a leased bus that's already
We've
been.
been on this bus thing, I
Yeah.
think, for at least 14 to 15 years that I know it. And we're no better now than we were back then, but to have more control of what we own versus leasing, you can send our buses to Ipswich and Rowley, and we can send the leased ones in this area. And I believe it's a good balance, but it just shows you the depreciation from $76,000 down to $1,000. The numbers really don't work. What you are looking at here is the control part of it.
If I can, we've looked at the lease numbers as far
Yeah.
as mileage, and we're doing better than what we had anticipated.
Which is
So,
good.
which is good. So we're not going over our mileage allotted. So the leasing
More
seems to
control
work
when you
out.
own.
Mhm.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Good job.
We have to, there's one more item we have to vote on based on the trip to Louisville.
One thing I didn't bring up to you, so that they can go to Louisville on June 20th through the 25th, I need approval from the school committee. So I'm asking for the school committee to send 6 students to Louisville, Kentucky, along with 4 staff.
Move to approve.
Second.
Yes.
We have the right paperwork.
We do.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, unanimous. Moving on. Chairperson report. Appointment of subcommittees. Based on the subcommittee evaluations, I've left everybody on the committee they wished, so they're on the same one. And I've added Chris to the policy committee at his request. If anybody wants to change in the course of the year, just let me know. Taking care of the school committee calendar, the superintendent's evaluation. Say what?
No, that's fine. I'm fine.
Everybody has this,
I had forgotten that I had been bumped from the policy
Oh.
committee, so I came in at 6:30 to the policy, and I hadn't looked at my most recent assignment.
all right, everybody got this in their packet? Please try to fill it out before the next school committee meeting, and then I can tabulate it. Just one item on here to understand, in accordance with the rules and regulations and filling this out by the DESE. If in the back pages where you put down where the unsatisfactory, needs improvement, proficient, exemplary, only proficient is not required to have a comment. So if you deem this particular category anything but proficient, you have to have a comment. So example, just so you know that. Don't let that deter you from not, you know, other things. One year everybody came in proficient, didn't have to write anything. Try to do your best, you got a whole month, and then we'll tabulate it up. Any questions on it, you can either contact me or preferably the superintendent. Thank you. Any questions on that? Moving on to,
Can you wait, Mr. Chairman?
yes, sir.
I apologize. I did have a question earlier in the agenda under the self-evaluation. I'm just making an observation that it appears that it may not be the same person, but either one or two folks have rated this very low.
Yeah.
I would just suggest that if they're new, that they need to go to that MESC introductory course, or check with the chair or a senior member of the committee if they're having trouble understanding how the committee works.
Valid point.
And it may be different people, and I'm not
Most of it
preaching,
was
I'm just saying we might want to,
11.1%, yeah.
yeah, we might want to
That's a good point.
ask around.
Thank you. Okay. June, policy updates. Mr. Irving,
Yeah, are you down to that?
that's for next month.
We'll need a meeting, but I've got a report tonight.
Okay. MCAS joint conference. Are we all set for that?
No, we do that in
November?
June. We do it in June.
Do it in June. So that'd be next month. New student representative, we took care of that. Okay, on the subcommittee reports, the executive committee has not met at this particular time. There's not really a need for a meeting unless somebody has a personal issue they'd like to discuss. Instructional personnel, Dr. Testaverde.
We have not met, and at this point, I do not foresee a need for a meeting by the end of the year, but would probably like one September, October, as we usually do.
October?
Yeah.
It's October.
I don't know. If we're going to discuss curriculum in October, wouldn't it be better to do it in late September before the October meeting so that we kind of have an idea of where we're going, et cetera? Or are you uncomfortable with that?
I'm just wondering, September is such a busy month for teachers. I want to make sure that I have as much information as possible for the committee. So it's really, I can make it work, or
Why don't we discuss it at a formal date next month, and that'll give you some time to think about it.
Okay.
Whether it's the last week in September, the first week in October, but that'll give you some leeway to think and figure out what's best.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Plan operations, Mr. Tucker.
Plan operation has not met, but I'm thinking that next month's meeting, Harry will come in with a list of things to be done over the summer, so we can review at that time. I don't think we need a meeting,
Okay,
but we'll review what he brings in.
salary and negotiation, Mr. Burns.
The Salary and Negotiations Subcommittee, has met, and we had one item on the agenda, that was the contract for the business manager, and it was unanimously recommended to the full committee that the business manager's contract be renewed for another 3 years, and each year you have to vote the salary, and basically she should get they felt she should get a 2% salary like everybody else, and a $5,000 TSA was recommended by the superintendent, and the subcommittee agreed. So it goes to the full committee, but
Right, we need a motion.
Make a motion to accept.
Is that Second?
Second.
Any- Open for discussion. Oh. No discussion? Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous. Okay. Anything else, Mr. Burns?
no, that's it.
Okay. Policy, Mr. Irving.
Mr. Chairman and members, you received in your packet tonight 5 policies, new policies, so I'd like to introduce them for the first reading. And it'll give us a, excuse me? That's what I asked, and I thought they did. We can't have a first reading
Why can't we?
unless you suspend the rules. You don't have them.
They don't have the only one who got them was us, we on the policy
I was
committee.
understood that everyone had them.
We could forward them all to everybody through their email tomorrow.
If we can suspend the rules next time, can't we? No, 'cause-
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
we'll
I
suspend
can
the rules
suspend
next
them
time.
Okay.
and vote,
And actually, it might be better because that 5th policy, let me just quickly go over them.
Go
I
ahead, go ahead.
won't waste a lot of time. And I'm not going to get into them, but you'll have them by email, and you need to review them and let us know. We'll have a policy meeting before the next meeting in June. The first one is, I'm not going to give the numbers because they're crazy, we'll all go nuts on them. First one is drug-free workplace policy, an update. The second one is teaching about alcohol, tobacco, and drug policy. The third is alcohol, tobacco, and drug use by students, prohibition or prohibited policy. The next one is student activity account policy, and you kind of heard that this evening with the auditors, where we have to identify and possibly have some of that taken care of. And then the fifth one is, this is what we're waiting on, and the superintendent's working with the attorneys on this, administration of medical meds, basically, and what is the student policy. And you could have a diabetic, you could have someone that, you know, needs an EpiPen, someone that takes Tylenol. And the written by MASC was by district K through 12. Well, we don't need, you know, K through 8. So we have to kind of fine tune that and modify it for our own usage. And we want to check on a couple of things as far as who can administer Narcan, for instance. That's getting now very important for hospitals, police stations. Obviously, in some cases, churches and schools have them. So the superintendent will check on that. We'll need a meeting. I'm not sure. What do you think?
6:15, 6:30?
Yeah, why don't we say 6:15? So we'll go over this. But please take a look at these, and if you have any questions, bring them to the meeting. We'll go over them again and go over that fifth policy. And I'll suspend the rules and ask that you vote to suspend the rules so we can have first and last reading. So they're basically in the student handbook if they need be, and they're all teachers and everyone else know, and administration know what's going on by September. We probably will have a little hiatus in midsummer, so if that's okay, Mr. Chairman. So
That's a good idea.
6:15?
Before our next school committee meeting?
Yes, on the 8th.
And in the interim, she'll send all these to everybody.
Yeah, good.
Thank you.
Quick comment. Does the resource officer carry that Narcan?
I'm not sure if he carries it.
Oh.
I thought we had a woman that was the resource officer.
Yeah, for a couple of years. Yeah. Narcan is a growing concern, you know, in our communities, and you know, it's something that we do need to think about, and think, especially with an adult evening program.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just our day students, but we also need to think we have nurses here at night, and obviously we want to be able to react if there's ever an issue here at the school. So
Thank you.
Do we have it in the nurse's office?
we don't right now.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, next meeting will be June the 8th at 7 p.m.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
what's the status of the Sunshine Fund?
She's collecting.
Well, can we make an announcement again?
Yeah. Again?
Unless you've got it 100% of participation. Okay. I just
We
wanted to mention
appreciate
it.
for those that
I gotta
haven't
take care of mine right now.
put the $20 in, to please do so.
I'll take it.
Oh, you
I'll take it.
you're gonna pay for everybody? Is that what you said?
No, I'll take his money.
Oh, thank
Would
you.
have been at the last meeting. The last meeting? That's when I
Not
collected.
embarrassed.
Yeah.
April meeting?
Last meeting she collected.
April? I wasn't here, right, so then
And also executive,
That's to her.
yeah, I'm announce it so people do it.
I was working.
Don't forget to pass this down.
Oh, yes. Oh, I got mine in there.
Yes.
Chairman?
Motion to adjourn.
For any new business?
Yes.
Yes.
Can we get an updated one of these? This is last year's.
Yeah, you will.
Okay, well, this was dated May. I thought we would get it tonight, but that's okay.
I want, yeah, the reason you didn't get it tonight is I had to talk to you about an issue.
Yep. Okay,
Okay, yeah, you'll get
just
that.
checking.
You'll get it.
Thank you.
All right. Motion to adjourn?
Yep.
Second? We'll say, all in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.